So we're going to go ahead and get started right now. Welcome everybody to today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining. So my name is Hillary Roberts, and I'm a customer advocate with Owl Practice. I'm excited to be hosting this session and showing off some new features that we have available for secure messaging. We released secure messaging in February of this past year, and we've been working with your suggestions for improvements to make this feature more robust. Since its release, more than 23,000 messages have been sent using this feature, and we're so happy that you're loving it so far. Today, we're going to review the feature itself, showcase a few of the new aspects of this, and then also have time for a question and answer period at the end. You will be muted for the duration of today's webinar, but as I mentioned, there is a chat feature in GoToMeeting where our customer advocates are available to answer any questions for you as we go. If you're unable to stay for the Q&A portion at the end, please feel free to email us at any time at support@owlpractice.ca with any follow-up questions you may have. Our team is always happy to help. Our agenda for today's session is as follows. We're going to start by giving a brief overview of secure messaging to refresh anyone's memory or to show it off for people who have not yet used this feature in OWL. We'll then go through each of the aspects of the new feature, including document sharing, emojis, text formatting, and filters. Next, we'll showcase a few of the different ways that you can use this feature at your own practice. And finally, as mentioned, we'll finish off with a Q&A session at the end. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm now going to head into OWL to showcase these features off for you in more detail. All right. OWL Practice's secure messaging tool provides clinics with a secure, PHI compliant method of two-way communication within the application. Secure messaging can be used to have chat-style communication with clients or internally with colleagues and staff members. Only clinics that have OWL's client portal for online booking and intake and consent forms are able to use secure messaging with their clients. If the practice is not yet upgraded to the client portal, the practice will only be able to use secure messaging internally with staff. You can access all of your ongoing conversations at any time by logging into OWL and clicking on the messaging section here. All of the conversations listed appear in descending order from most recent to least. I'm now going to review how to navigate this page. The first thing I want to showcase is right here, this new conversation button. By clicking this plus sign here, it will prompt you to choose a chat type to start the conversation. This area here is the conversation summary. All of the conversations that you're a part of as a user will appear in the sidebar here. You will only be able to see the conversations that you are participating in. If the color of the conversation is green, it means that there's clients in the conversation, just like these first four conversations here. If the color of the conversation is dark blue, such as these conversations, it means that this conversation is only between OWL users. Clicking on the conversation icon will allow you to see all of the participants in that conversation. Next is the participant or group name, which you can see right here on the first line of the message. If the conversation is only between yourself and one person, the name of the person that you're chatting with will be listed here. If the conversation has multiple participants, for example, this session, it's considered a group chat and will have been assigned a group name by the person who originally initiated the conversation. In that case, the conversation is listed here by the group name, for example, Family Mitchell Harrison. Directly below that is the subject. When you start a conversation, you're prompted to assign a subject line to it. This helps to identify the contents of the conversation itself. Here, you can see this is the number of unread messages. When messages are received and you haven't viewed them yet, this numeric indicator will appear within the conversation to show you the number of unread messages in the conversation. Right here is the text typing field. This is where you can type all of your messages before you send them into OWL. Right here is the send message icon. Clicking this will send the message that you've typed. You can also send your messages by hitting the Enter key on your keyboard. Up here is the new message alert. This icon will notify you of any newly received messages, even when you're not in the messaging section of OWL. For example, if you're reviewing stats in the dashboard or scheduling sessions in the calendar and you get a new message, this icon will display an alert in red to catch your attention. The icon will persist until all of the messages have been read. Something new that we've actually just added is when you click on this here, you can now see a preview of the message. You can see who it's from and what the subject of the conversation is. This will tell you if you need to navigate away from the spot in OWL where you are in at the time, or if you can stay and check the message a bit later. This button right here is the Close Conversation Listing button. You can click this button to close all of the conversations and slide them out of your view. And below here is where all of the archived conversations can be seen. Clicking this button will open the archive, as I've just done. OWL will always retain all of the conversations that you participate in, but if you ever find your list of ongoing conversations is too long to manage, or some of the conversations are completed, you can archive them. Simply click the Start Archiving button here, and all of the conversations will turn to orange. You can click each conversation you wish to archive, and it will do so. When you're finished, you can simply click Done Archiving to return to the regular view. Something else new that we've added here is that a client may have the ability to send you a conversation that you have archived. You can now see if a client has sent you a message on an archived conversation easily with the numeric indicator here, as well as on the conversation itself. You also now have the ability to attach and send files in your conversations. This was the most highly requested addition to this feature from our customers. You can now see there is this Attach File button directly above the text field where you used to type your messages. Once you click this button, you'll be prompted to select a file from your computer. You can see here that clicking this will open Finder on your computer so you're able to easily drag something into the conversation. It quickly loads and attaches. All document types can be uploaded here, limited to but not not limited to Word, Excel, PDF, PPT, and images such as PNG, JPEG, videos, or GIFs. You can also add attachments by dragging and dropping them directly from your desktop. Here, you can simply grab a file like you would from your desktop and drag it into the area where the messages are going to be typed. You'll then see that that will attach to the conversation easily as well. Any files that have been attached will appear in the conversation with a clickable link. Clicking the link will download this file directly onto your computer. Clicking the menu beside the item will offer you a number of options. You can see that you can always view the attachment, download it, or also, if other people in the conversation have not yet read this, you'll have the option to delete it as well. Please note that not all file types are viewable. File types such as PDFs and images can be viewed, but other types such as PPT cannot be viewed, like a Word document. You'll always need to click the download option to see these certain file types. I'm just going to show you a few examples of these now. Here you can see how easy it is to view by just clicking here. The client and yourself can both view this attachment very easily in the session. You can easily send clients diagrams that may support them between sessions. In this scenario, I sent my client a graphic of things that they can do during a panic attack to get through it. You can now easily share diagrams or pictures that may help your clients outside of a session in a secure way. Another example of how this could be done is to click on something, or is to send somebody more information about something you've discussed in a session. Here you can see an example where you can send a client information after a session that you may have mentioned. If you find an image or an article that you think your client would find particularly helpful or interesting, you can now send this to them between sessions. Finally, using attachments can be a great way to share and manage homework. Here you can see that I've sent Frank this behavioral experimentation sheet for him to fill out before our next session. Frank is able to record these answers and send them to me back through chat. This way, I have time to review any of these responses before our next session if I'd like to. This can be especially beneficial if you do work with clients that have experienced a lot of trauma, as they can find that texting or writing their responses can sometimes be easier to have a breakthrough than actually speaking with the practitioner in person. Your clients will have these same options in their conversations too. They can attach files as needed, easily view or download what you've sent to them, and your clients will be able to send back filled-in homework, diagrams, drawings, pictures, and more. This feature or the options for this feature are endless, and it can really enhance your client's experience and access to care. Any conversations that have attachments within will appear to have this little paperclip icon, just like here. Something else that we've added here now is that when you're writing a message, you can now format the text as needed. While typing, you can click Shift and Return on your keyboard to start a new line of text. You can type paragraphs and create any spacing between your messages as desired before posting to the conversation. This allows you and your clients to create a more organized message, as you can see that I've done here. Both you and your clients have the ability to send these new formatted messages. Beside the Attach button, you'll also notice a new button with an emoji on it. Secure messaging now supports the use of emojis in your conversations. Emojis have become a much more broadly used part of everyday text-based conversations. These are a helpful addition for clinics who work with children and youth, or anyone who likes to use emojis to express a specific tone alongside their text. It's helpful for clients to articulate a mood or a feeling that they might have difficulty expressing in text alone. We have added the full standard suite of emojis, as you can see here, for both you and your clients. You can easily scroll through the list to find a multitude of emojis to choose from. An emoji can be added onto your conversation by simply clicking it, and then you'll see it's added into the chat there. You can easily scroll through the emojis and also use the search feature if you're looking for a specific type of emoji. A few notes: OWL does not support keyboard shortcuts for emojis. For example, if you were about to type a colon and then a bracket, this would not be translated into a smile emoji when you enter it into the conversation. Also, if any of the emojis appear as black squares or rectangles when viewing the emoji menu, this is because the computer is not up to date. Some emojis in our menu may have been published more recently, and your computer will not recognize them unless it is up to date. The next feature I wanted to showcase is a new filter that has been added to the top of conversations. You can see it here. This allows you to more easily find specific conversations as you send messages more and more both internally and externally to clients. Filtering will make it easier to reference conversations as needed. Simply hover over the funnel icon at the top of the conversations to see the available filters. You can see that you can easily filter conversations by ones that have attachments, have clients, have no clients, and have unread messages. These filters can be combined. So if you have any conversations with attachments and with clients, you could add both filters to look at these at one time. You'll see a check mark next to all of the filters that are applied, and the results displayed will change based on the filters that you're using. When you're done with the filter view, you can hover over the filter and click Clear Filters to return the conversations to the default display. We're now going to discuss a few different applications of secure messaging conversations. We've already looked at how the addition of attachments can transform the way you communicate with your clients in OWL, but we thought we would provide you with a few other examples of other ways that this can transform the way that you practice as well. The first example that I have here is that you can see this is a conversation between a supervisor and a supervisee. You can easily use this as a means to communicate back and forth about which notes you need for them to review or which clients and send resources back and forth between the two users. When these two parties like going back and forth regarding session notes, this is an excellent place for these conversations to be kept, as all of this information can be kept completely compliant, so you have no worries about using client identification numbers, client codes, or disclosing that information over a non-compliant service like email. Another inter-office example that we wanted to provide for solo users is having conversations with your office administrator. In this example here, we have an office administrator and a practitioner. This is especially helpful when working with an assistant at a distance. You can easily communicate changes to your schedule or discuss if anybody is going to be having time off. If your admin is in your office, can also be a great tool for you to communicate as well. They could notify you that your next client has arrived at the office if you're working in your office. You can discuss discrepancies with billing, easily making references in the conversation here, notes, or anything else that they may wish to help you with. Something I really love about this feature is that all of the information is tracked, so say my admin forgot about the changes to my schedule this week, they can simply just refer back to this conversation and look at the days where there are changes to my schedule. The next example I wanted to show is a client conversation. Here is a conversation between a practitioner and a client. In this example, the practitioner is setting up a session for a client and their for their child, as they have a spot open on their wait list. One feature that I'd love to highlight here is that you can create to-dos from client messages. You can see here that the practitioner has asked the client if they would like to have appointment confirmations or reminders set up within OWL. If you weren't already aware, these are features that are easily available within both versions of OWL, both the Standard and Plus edition. And if you do have any questions about getting those set up for your clients, you can email our support team and we'd be happy to help you out with that. Something really amazing that I think that you can do with secure messaging is once the client has sent you a message, you can actually click on the menu here to then create a to-do from this right here. This allows you to actually create this to-do and then it's added to your workflow. When this client confirms all of these things, you can ensure that you can always have this done by having this added to the workflow so you do not forget about this task. Another one I wanted to showcase is this conversation with Frank. Here's an example of a bit more of an involved conversation you could have with a client. For Frank, I have a couple examples here. This first part of our conversation shows a practitioner having a chat-style communication with a client who's struggling. Here you can see the practitioner was actually originally using this to check in with the client who had not yet confirmed their session time. Once the client said that they'd been struggling in this session, the practitioner was able to send them this graphic that we looked at earlier to help them at that time. In the second part of this conversation, the practitioner is able to send the client the worksheet to fill out before their next session. We'll just view this again to remind everyone what it looked like. And you can see that these questions are easily available for the client to answer here. The client has the option to fill this out electronically by downloading this, adding text, and sending it back. Or they could also print this out on their computer and write it by hand if that's the preferred method for them. Another example is what the client has done in this chat by typing their messages actually back to the practitioner so that they can be reviewed before the next session. There's a multitude of ways that you could use this to manage homework as well as communications with your clients between sessions. The next piece that I wanted to show you is an example of a family conversation. In this group chat, a parent is having a conversation with the child and their practitioner. In this case, the client is the child, but the parent is helping to schedule their sessions. In this group conversation, the child has access to the details of the session and can contribute their input as well. Well, the parent can ensure that the session location will work for the family's schedule and ensure that all necessary pieces of information are available and brought to the first session. Another example I wanted to showcase of a group type conversation could be for a couple that is no longer living together or perhaps not on the best terms to schedule their sessions together. If clients do require a bit of back and forth between scheduling their questions, this can be avoided through phone calls by doing this through chat. You can see now that the participants each have a chance to list the amounts of time that they're available, and then the practitioner is easily able to schedule this session. The final example I wanted to show today is that of a distance session. Here you can see these can be used actually for sessions themselves. You can see in this example that the client was traveling and out of town. Rather than skip our session for the week, we'll go back and forth having a session over chat. This can be done either as a live chat or as more of a correspondence style, if that's more applicable, where the client will type something and the practitioner will get back to them in their own time. So this concludes the review and demonstration of the secure messaging piece. So I'm now just going to head back to the presentation to finish up. Thanks again, everybody, for attending today's webinar. I hope that this session was helpful and informative for you. Please refer to our FAQ pages to familiarize yourself further with this feature. And if you have any questions or feedback, please email support@owlpractice.ca, and we're happy to help discuss these further with you of how this can be implemented into your practice. For anyone who is interested, please stay on the line now as we'll be starting the Q&A portion of the webinar. I'm going to start by simply reviewing the questions that are already in the chat box. And then if you have any new questions, please feel free to type them now and I will go ahead and answer those. Okay, looks like there was a lot of questions during the presentation, so I'm just going to take a moment to review and read these before I start answering them for everybody. So the first question that somebody had is if office admins are able to, sorry, just lost that. The first question was, can only therapists communicate with clients or can admin staff also? So that's a great question, and it's correct that only a practitioner and owner with therapist profiles can send messages to clients. Office admins can use their messaging to communicate internally with other staff members, but not with clients. Almith asked, does the conversation automatically become a part of the client file? Yes, it does. So if you go ahead and go into, I'm just actually going to head back into OWL for this piece to show this off. If you go ahead and go to a client's profile in OWL, you'll actually see that each conversation is all stored in this secure messaging area of their profile. So a list of all of the client's conversations will be stored here. So Lady asked, will an admin eventually be able to send to a client? It would be great for the feature if an admin could send invoices or receipts. So Lady, actually, admins do have access to send invoices and receipts to clients. That's a separate access feature within OWL. That can be done really easily from the calendar by just simply opening up. I'm just going to open up a sample receipt to show this. All that would have to be done here, oopsies, is the receipt would need to be opened. You would simply select the email for the client or their linked account, and then click this email button to go ahead and send that to them. It's sending emails and receipts is not linked to secure messaging, just to be clear. Okay. So somebody asked, oh, sorry about that. Somebody asked, the client send info to you by email or text? So if you are communicating with the client using secure messaging, they'll be accessing it through the online portal. They'll be using the online portal to log in and actually send you those messages and chats through that. You would receive a notification through email notifying you that you have a new secure message. And then you also would see this in-app in OWL with that reminder that we looked at earlier. So somebody asked, does the online portal need to be activated to be able to communicate with clients? Yes, it does. You do not have to have online booking available. You can have no services available to book, which will prevent your clients from booking online, but this is done through the portal. Someone also asked if this is different than email reminders that are sent to clients prior to meetings. Yes, email reminders are a separate piece of OWL and not linked to secure messaging. Secure messaging is a completely other piece of OWL than email or text message reminders. So someone asked about archive messages and how this works from a client and therapist point of view. So an archived chat, you've asked, does this happen automatically or once a therapist responds? So archive chats, the archiving process is done by the practitioner and by the client. So if you archive a chat, it does not mean that on the client side, it is going to also be an archived chat. This is a feature that allows you really to just put these in folders and make it more manageable for yourself. It does not happen automatically, any moving out of folders. It's really just a way for you to organize the messages. One person's actions on archiving does not affect the other person. Somebody asked which version we're using. So today I did this presentation using the solo version of OWL, and I have the premium subscription in my account. Someone's also asked when you talk to couples if each of these have individual files. So yes, the way that couples are designed to work in OWL, Allmyth, is that each member of the couple, partner one and partner two, would each be separate clients in OWL. In each of their accounts, when they're linked together using linked accounts, their sessions can be scheduled together, but each person will have a copy of the session notes in their account, be accurately reflected in the billing, and each person also will have that messaging tab in their profile showing any conversations that they were a participant in. Allmyth asked if you were having a secure conversation in place of a session, would you have features of making notes, invoicing, and receipts? So Allmyth, if you were doing that, we would still encourage you to actually schedule a session within your calendar within OWL. We have talked to some people who have actually created a different service type, just like I have initial intake or applied behavior analysis or CBT listed here. That would be called something like chat therapy or whatever might be applicable at your practice. That way you could still be scheduling this into the calendar easily, and then you could be having those session notes, etc., and just making mention that it was a chat style conversation to look at that. Okay. Elizabeth asked if the invoice that is sent is not protected. No, we do have a number of features around that to keep your invoices compliant. They are sent to your client's email, and actually, if you will notice, I will just open this up again to show this. When viewing an invoice or receipt in OWL, you can actually see that we have this extra added layer of protection, the password protected emailed PDF field. This is a completely optional field to make your PDFs more secure when you're sending them to your clients. You would simply enter a password here. probably more something a little more secure than password itself, and communicate this to your clients outside of session. Once this document is emailed to them, when it is password protected, they will not be able to access this until the password is typed in. If the client ever forgets the password, this can always be resent using a new password at any particular point in time, but you do have this option to actually password protect these files as well. Do clients have to be signed up on OWL to use this feature? No, clients do not have to be signed up with an OWL subscription through this feature. They would be signed up through the client portal, and whoever's asked this, your name is just showing as Office, but if you would like some help with getting set up on the client portal, I would encourage you to contact us at support@owlpractice.ca, and we would be happy to guide you through making these changes and upgrades into your account. Joanne has also asked how the client gets to the portal. And again, Joanne, I can show you that a little bit, but it might be better if you contact us directly with support, so we can definitely kind of guide you through that if you're not familiar with how the portal works exactly in OWL. I also see that someone here has asked us about cost monthly. So if you are in a group edition, you will have to contact us for a custom quote for your group. If you are a solo user, you can use these features on either the Lite Plus, which is a $60 a month subscription for people who are working with less than 20 sessions a month, who are working part-time. And we also have this on the premium version of OWL for solo users who are full-time, and that is $80 a month currently. Just going to show you now, Joanne mentioned that she was wondering how clients get to the portal. So I'm just going into my therapist profile to get my link to my online portal. As hopefully most of you know, that's where it's located. And I'll just open this up from the client point of view to actually showcase this for you. So you can see here, this is what it looks like when the client is accessing their portal. They would simply click on the messaging tab here to have these secure conversations with you. And they would simply click on the chat here to access this and type messages to you. You can see here they have all of the other buttons that you have, such as attach file, those emojis, and they can even do things like format their text, just like we looked at earlier. I believe that that was all of the questions that we did see in the chat right now. So if anyone does have any more questions, we'll stay online for about 5 more minutes to go ahead and answer those now. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending, and thank you for all of these wonderful questions as well. I really appreciate all of them. Thank you, Ahmed. I'm happy that all of your questions were answered. And if anyone does have any follow-up questions, like I said, you can always feel free to contact us at support@owlpractice.ca, and we would be happy to chat with you one-on-one about them. Vanessa, you're welcome as well. Thank you for attending. Abby's asked, are text messages regularly not encrypted on an iPhone, for example? I do not believe so, Abby. I would need to get a little bit more detail about, what kind of phone you were using and things like that to answer that confidently. But this offers you a completely protected way to text your clients. So if you ever lost your cell phone, for example, anyone would have access to this. Whereas if you ever lost your computer, it would be having to go through several layers of security to go back into OWL. Cynthia, thank you so much for attending. I'm so happy that you found this to be a beneficial feature. We'll just wait 1 or 2 more minutes to see if any other questions come in. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending. Elizabeth, thank you so much for attending. Have a great day. So Ashley's actually just posted, for anybody who is interested, a link to the FAQs for the online portal and getting started. So if you are looking to upgrade your account or you're brand new to the client portal, this is a quick start guide to get you through all of the process of getting it all set up. As I mentioned, we would always be happy to answer any questions about this if you are having any trouble, but that link is in the chat feature in GoToMeeting if anybody is interested in looking at that now. We're just going to wait one more minute to see if anyone has any final questions. I wanted to take this time to thank everybody again for attending. We really appreciate it. Abby, you mentioned that you couldn't see this link. I'm going to go ahead and actually post it as well. I just sent it to the entire chat. So where you're seeing the chat messages that you just sent, you should be able to click on a link that I've just shared with everybody there. All right, Abby, if you could send us an email, then I'd be happy to send that to you if you're not able to access the chat session. That would be great. Thank you so much. All right, I think that was everybody's questions for the day. Thank you so much again for attending. I'm going to go ahead and end the session now. And like I said, if you do have any questions, please feel free to email us at support@owlpractice.ca and we would be glad to help. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending. We'll talk to you later. Goodbye.